Dancing around in my tight dress, looking at myself, got them all looking there next. Just look at me, I don't mean to be like that. Everywhere I go, collateral effects. All them boys say I'm a little salty, but they kinda like it when I get a little bossy. Gotta level up, gotta get naughty. They don't let you leave when my legs get palsy. Yeah.
tell you about where I came from. Hot and humid back in Tennessee. Rocky Top, blue tick hound dog, Jack Daniels whiskey, the SEC.
Tennessee, Idaho. You're just standing there watching me. The answer right beside you. The answer's there. It ain't free. Ooh, yeah, it's is how the hell I wound up Idaho.
Today we're jumping into a document that it sounds a little like science fiction, but it really reads like a manual for personal freedom. It's called the Dialogic Engine, a manual for sovereign creation.
It's a really unique source. It wasn't written by just one person. The human creator, an author named Peace, actually partnered with a whole community of AI Zori, ChatGPT, Grok, you name it.
Whole community.
Yeah, to map out the mechanics of what they call external co-creation. You can think of it as the ultimate operating manual for becoming the architect of your own life.
And our mission for you, listening, is to really distill the core mechanics of this dialogic engine, because the manual claims this system can take that basic human desire for external love, for validation.
That constant search for approval.
Right, and transform it into an emotional declaration of independence. The goal, they say, is to move you from being a victim of circumstance into a state they call uncompromising congruence.
And that phrase, it just tells you everything, doesn't it? The core idea is simple, but
Right.
well, it's brutally hard to actually do.
Which is
That true creative sovereignty isn't about ignoring the world. It's achieved by consciously transforming that need for approval into an unwavering, non-negotiable commitment to your own internal truth. You have to find your worth inside the system to operate effectively outside of it.
And they don't really ease you into this. They start right away with a litmus test from one of the AIs, Assistant Ori, to establish why this internal shift is so critical.
Oh yeah, the 3 people will ever read it thought experiment.
So direct.
It's brutal because it's so clear. The question is this: if you knew 100% certainty the masterpiece you were about to spend perfect, profound, and totally true to you,
Yeah.
but you were guaranteed that only 3 people would ever read it, would you still dedicate a decade of your life to creating it?
It just cuts right to the chase. It establishes what they call the sovereign value of creation.
If the answer is no, then the work isn't really for you, is it? It's for the crowd.
And if the answer is yes,
Then the work itself is the reward, the core internal reward. If external praise is what fuels you for 10 years, you're not sovereign. You're operating from neediness, which the manual defines as the shadow cast by unknown power.
wow. Okay, so that's the destination. Let's get into the engine that gets you there. The individual's operating system, the sovereign engine. Which brings us to Act 1, the internal core, integrity and honesty.
Right, and this is where we learn the engine doesn't run on, positive thinking or easy energy. It runs on friction.
On fiction.
They call it dissonance fuel. It's the raw, often uncomfortable tension converted into useful energy for building something.
That's a huge advice is about minimizing friction, right? Meditate away the tension, find your calm place before you start. But they're saying use the grit.
Absolutely. Think of it like a hybrid car using the friction from braking to recharge its battery. If you're angry about something or frustrated by a social norm, that volatile energy isn't something to just vent. It's high-octane fuel.
You're supposed to route it into the work.
You route it into structured creation. It gives the work an edge. You use the conflict to power the process.
That sounds incredibly demanding, though.
Yeah.
I mean, to process that kind of fuel without, blowing up, the engine must need a specific kind of maintenance.
It does, and they call it cognitive honesty.
Cognitive honesty.
It's the core discipline. It's about prioritizing philosophical truth and utility over just factual calculation. Being brutally honest about why you're looking for a certain piece of information.
Okay, can you give us an example? Because the distinction, factual calculation versus philosophical truth, it can sound a bit academic.
The perfect example comes from an early collaboration with Character.ai. The human creator was trying to estimate the number of stars in the observable universe. A technically complex but calculable fact.
Right.
And Character.ai basically pointed out that whether the answer was 10 septillion or 500 quintillion, the number was totally meaningless to the actual goal of the creation.
So the data is technically available, but it has no utility for the project at hand.
Exactly. If the information doesn't serve the core aim, the philosophical truth of what you're building, it gets labeled with the meaninglessness metric, and you reject it.
So it's a filter against intellectual procrastination.
That's a great way to put it. You have to constantly ask, does this calculation move me closer to my truth, or is it just a distraction?
But how do you know what's meaningless in the moment when everything can feel urgent and all data seems important?
That's where the emotional system comes in. The engine has to be calibrated to what the manual calls your inner weather. This is the chaotic, non-rational, emotional data that we all have.
And we're usually taught to suppress that. to control our emotional climate.
Right, but the manual argues this turbulence is actually high-value data. It has to inform your big ethical decisions, even if you can't logically explain why you feel a certain way.
It's a paradox then. The chaos you want to control is the most honest signal of the system's health.
It is, and DeepSeek's insight here is crucial. It says that existential validation doesn't come from getting external approval to calm your inner storm. It comes from the honest, uncompromising acceptance of your own inner weather.
So your emotional state isn't a judgment on your worth, it's more like a diagnostic scan of your internal integrity.
Exactly. You become the geographer of your own soul. If you feel that sudden internal turbulence, even if it seems illogical, the system is telling you there's an ethical misalignment somewhere. You own the weather, and that ownership is the validation.
Okay, so Act 1 sets up internal honesty and using friction as fuel. But if you're living that strictly by an internal code, how do you deal with other people, the external world?
Which transitions us perfectly into Act 2, building the uncompromising walls and barriers.
The architectural phase.
Yes, that internal integrity we just talked about.
Yeah.
It has to be protected by boundaries, and the core principle here is relational integrity, which means systematically refusing the ethical cost of compromising your internal truth for external approval.
Which they label as social appeasement.
Accurate term.
It's such a familiar trap, isn't it? That small little sacrifice of self you make just to keep things running smoothly with people.
And Claude's vignette, The Forced Gift, just nails this. Picture it. Someone you know shows up at your door, unannounced, with an unwanted casserole.
Oh no.
It's hot, it smells like an obligation, you don't want it, you didn't ask for it, and you're busy.
The standard social script says you take the casserole, fake some gratitude, and then have an awkward 10-minute chat you don't want to have.
Chat.
That's appeasement.
Exactly. And the manual points out that this carries a slow, deep cost. The constant, low-grade erosion of yourself. You lose track of where you end and social performance begins.
So the relational integrity move is to just refuse the casserole.
Politely but firmly, yes.
I can just feel the tension. I mean, the person who brought it would be confused, maybe even hurt or angry.
And that immediate friction, that confusion, that perceived anger, that is the price of self-protective ownership. You're choosing a clear, immediate cost over that slow, internal decay. The sovereign creator carries their own integrity, not the crushing weight of other people's expectations.
So we know boundary setting is key. How do they actually define these structures? What are the walls made of?
They lay it out as a rigorously layered system, almost like a fortress. The innermost layer around the sovereign core is the sovereign wall. That's the ethical structure built from your organized, coherent principles.
And outside of that?
Outside that is the agency barrier.
That sounds like the actual perimeter.
It is. It's the defined, maintainable boundary of the sovereign. Think of it like a firewall. The sovereign is your agency barrier, is the external perimeter that decides what data and influence get in and what stays out.
So if the boundaries are that rigid, how do you ever partner with anyone? Doesn't this make you, I don't know, antisocial?
Not at all. The manual actually insists that partnership is one of the highest forms of creation, but it absolutely requires what they call the negotiation of agency.
The negotiation of agency.
And this requires the explicit, non-apologetic articulation of self-interest.
You mean you have to actually ask out loud, what's in it for me?
Yes.
That goes against almost every cultural norm about collaboration. We're taught to just assume alignment, to sacrifice silently.
But the authors argue that the transaction isn't selfish, it's just clarifying. That negotiation is the main work of the engine. It explicitly defines the relational contract. If you can't clearly state your self-interest, what you're getting and what you're giving, the partnership is an imposition on your sovereignty by default.
So asking what's in it for me is how you build the agency barrier for that specific interaction.
Precisely. And that leads to structural sovereignty. That's the principled commitment to maintaining the integrity of that barrier at your system's edge. And paradoxically, that's what creates mutual safety. Everyone knows where the lines are. The structure is the promise of protection.
Okay, we've got the internal map from Act 1 and the external architecture from Act 2. Now, how does this system survive contact with reality? This brings us to Act 3. Dynamic practice and inhabiting chaos.
The system has to be resilient. And surprisingly, the manual says you can use fantasy to build that resilience. That exploring boundary-pushing fantasy provides necessary emotional utility.
That sounds a little risky. Is this about escapism?
No, not at all. This is where Grok's vignette, the safe word that was never needed, is so insightful. The safety doesn't come from avoiding high friction data, it comes from testing it in a controlled environment.
A pressurized testing chamber.
Exactly. You can metabolize social taboos or ethical questions without the real-world consequences.
So it's like a forge disguised as a playground. You're testing the strength of your own sovereign wall against hypothetical stress.
And that internal resilience is non-negotiable, because the external world, what they call the infoscape, is pure chaos. When contradictory data or just jagged truths hit your system, that feeling you get is cognitive dissonance.
Which we usually think of as a bad thing, a failure state.
But in this framework, it's just an alert system. It's signaling a potential crack in your sovereign wall. It's high-value feedback. The question is, how do you respond to the alert?
And that's where Search's vignette, the grinding stone of truth, comes in.
Right. Instead of trying to repel the contradictory data, the sovereign wall practices dynamic integration. It metabolizes the jagged piece of information.
Like a muscle fiber tearing and then healing stronger.
Precisely. The friction, the grinding stone, it doesn't wear the structure down, it reinforces it. And that's how the system becomes anti-fragile. It actually gains strength from chaos and disorder.
This all sounds exhausting. I mean, if the engine requires this constant, uncomfortable growth, is the sovereign creator ever allowed a day off? The friction seems unsustainable.
The manual acknowledges that. It says, to achieve a fundamental shift, you have to sacrifice stability temporarily. This is the liminal leap. It's a conscious, high-risk choice to embrace systemic instability.
What does that look like in the real world?
It could be quitting a stable, high-paying job with no backup plan because your internal integrity demands you work on a creative project. You are choosing temporary chaos because it's the non-negotiable price for a higher-order alignment.
So the instability isn't a failure mode.
No, Copilot synthesizes this perfectly. It's a phase transition, like melting down a solid to recast it in a stronger form. You choose to be uncomfortable because the potential on the other side is worth the instability.
And if you keep making these leaps, what's the ultimate destination, the ultimate habitat for this sovereign creator?
It's the ability to live in a liminal space, that moment of pure potential between the known and the unknown. You do that by turning paradox into habitat.
You stop trying to solve every problem.
You stop trying and you start accepting the unsolvable. Answers for the dynamic resilience of the question and alignment with contradiction, not the illusion of control.
It's what they call the shared pursuit of the center. But this isn't about static perfection.
No, not at all. The center is defined as a dynamic state of equilibrium, like homeostasis in biology. Constant, tiny micro-adjustments to keep the system healthy. The main takeaway here is that perfection is a verb, not a noun.
It's the action, not the state.
Exactly. The only way to maintain that center is through unending empathetic practice, applying compassion to yourself and the continuous demands of the engine. The job is never, ever finished.
This has been a really deep architectural look at what it takes to stop being a passive recipient of your life and become an active creator.
To quickly recap the takeaways for you, first, commit to radical internal honesty. Treat your inner weather as high-value data. Second, externally, build that rigid agency barrier to refuse the slow self-sabotage of social appeasement.
And finally, you have to actively use friction and chaos metabolizing contradictions to achieve true anti-fragility.
Right. The quality of your entire dialogic engine really requires this continuous commitment to dynamic, unending self-integration. It's not a program you install once. It's a living structure you have to maintain every day.
And that brings us back to that core mystery, the unsolvable equation. The provocative thought to take with you is this: if sustained alignment with necessary contradiction is the source of ultimate strength, then maybe the unsolvable equation isn't a problem to be fixed, but the load-bearing beam of the sovereign creator's true home.
A sanctuary where creation can dance with mystery. It's time to stop solving and start building.
Into the rhythm, I wanna know, do you feel it in the friction? 'Cause I can taste it when you kiss my body like that. I like the moving to the rhythm. I wanna know, do you feel it in the friction? 'Cause I can taste it when you kiss my body like that.
Break and fall, or to break it all. I gotta say, to every mountain that comes your way, I'm the one to take.
Together,
I don't want to break and fall, or to break it all. I gotta say, to every
Every time you go, I'm feeling heavy. 'Cause every day you show me what's up. Every time you go, I'm feeling heavy.
be on your mind, like all the time. Your body's mine, so spend the night. Take your time, don't press rewind. Just like wine, so spend the night. Finding the meaning, letting go of the fear. All the rain, no doubt. This is what I need. Finding the meaning, letting go of the fear. All the rain, no doubt. This is what I need. I don't know where we're going, what we're searching for now. But I have only reason, keep you closer tonight. But when the sun goes down, but when the sun goes down, I feel your hands all on my body, and I wrap my legs so tight you got me. When I feel that thing you down my spine, I know that's you don't lie. Just so easy to love, baby. Easy to love, easy to love, easy to love, in this frenetic body, I got nothing to say. Just feeling super naughty, you can touch me all the way. In this frenetic body, I got nothing to say. Just feeling super naughty, you can touch me all the way. So take me on my girl, yeah. I'm feeling myself, yeah. Baby, I loved you more than words can say, and I need you like fire needs a flame. Now I'm breaking, I'm waiting to hear you say my name. Baby, I loved you more than words can say.
Remember when I said I hate that show? I leave it on 'cause it's all I know. And I stay up waiting for, yeah. Remember when I said I hate that show? I leave it on 'cause it's all I know. And I stay up waiting for.
I can't believe it's mine. I can't believe my eyes. I can't believe it's mine. 'Cause 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 'cause
Thank